Good morning. It's Pastor Martin, coming to you from the beauty of my backyard. I want to read a book to you this morning. We've been reading a couple of stories a day out of this book. It's called Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison. Today's first story is about Harriet Tubman, who lived in 1822 to 1913. One of 9 children, Harriet was born into slavery under the name Arminta Harriet Ross. Both her parents were West Africans, hailing from the Ashanti warrior people. While many of her siblings were sold and traded to distant plantations, one good fortune Harriet had was to remain united with her parents throughout her youth. When she was 15, Harriet was accidentally hit in the head with an iron weight and fell into a coma for 3 days. Her brain injury resulted in narcolepsy, a permanent disorder that caused her to fall asleep at random times. Fearing her slave owner would eventually discover her injury, she decided to run away to avoid the risk of being sold or traded. After escaping to freedom in 1849, Harriet could have stayed in the North, but now that she knew it was possible to escape, she wanted to return for her family and anyone else she could rescue. Over the course of 11 years, she returned to the South 19 times and led more than 300 men, women, and children to freedom and safety via the secret system called the Underground Railroad. Known as a conductor, Harriet never lost a passenger on her journeys. Even though it was dangerous, Harriet continually put her life at risk to save others. It wasn't the last time. During the Civil War, Harriet served as an army nurse and went undercover as a spy for the North. Harriet was always looking to help other people. What very little she had, she gave away to others. She lived in poverty most of her life and donated her time, money, and property to people in need. In 2016, the U.S. Treasury announced a historic proposal to change the $20 bill. It would replace the longtime face of it, Andrew Jackson, with Harriet, making her the first woman on the front of any U.S. paper currency. And here's an illustration of what Harriet might have looked like. The second story I'd like to share with you this morning is about Rebecca Lee Crumpler, who lived from 1831 to 1895, and she was a physician. From the very beginning, caring for others was part of Rebecca's life. She was raised in Pennsylvania by her aunt, who provided health care services to the people in her neighborhood. This passion for helping her community became her life's mission. She attended a private school in Massachusetts and went on to work as a nurse for 8 years. In 1860, she applied to an all-white medical school, the New England Female Medical College, a bold and risky move. But she was accepted. Rebecca graduated in 1864, becoming the first African-American woman physician in the country. Out of more than 50,000 physicians in the United States at the time, only about 300 were women, and Rebecca was the only black woman. She began her practice in Boston, specializing in the care of women and children. But when the Civil War came to an end, she moved to Richmond, Virginia, to work with the Freedmen's Bureau. The fallen Confederate South was extremely hostile to the newly freed slaves, so Rebecca worked with the Bureau to provide health care for them. Rebecca had been born free in Delaware, the state with the highest number of free blacks before the war. She was new to the adversity and racism of the South, but she endured it for the sake of helping the poor and needy. Throughout her career, Rebecca had a particular passion for helping women and children. In 1883, she published a two-part text titled A Book of Medical Discourses. The first part focuses on care for infants, and the second part on women's health. It is possibly the first medical article book published by a black woman. Here's what Rebecca might have looked like. I hope you'll be inspired by the courageous boldness of these ladies. Have a good day, friends.